Alright, so when I heard this movie was coming out, I was like, I guess I'll check it out. I never read the book this movie was based on, but I was working at a movie theater at the time, so I was like, at least it'll be a free movie. But then I stopped working at the movie theater and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go out of my way to spend money on seeing this movie. And then the pandemic hit and this movie went from being a theatrical release to streaming service release. And I was like, well, I guess I'd better check it out. Let's just get this over with. Artemis Fowl. It's not good. So Artemis Fowl is a new Disney movie based off the book. The book I remember seeing at my friend's house when I was in elementary school, and that is the most experience I have with that book. I remember when the trailer for this movie dropped on YouTube, and I looked in the comment sections, and all the comments were like, this is butchering the book. And so yeah, all the fans of the book series are like, well, there goes the hope of a good movie based off the book. And normally I'm the kind of guy that's like, whoa, well, we'll see how the movie does, but in this case I was like, no, they're probably right, this movie's probably gonna suck. Because really think about it, recently live-action Disney movies have not been that good. In fact, they've been really bad. I disliked Wrinkle in Time so much that I skipped out on Nutcracker entirely. But anyway, let's get to the premise of this movie. We get Artemis Fowl Jr., played by a kid who's not that good. He's a really super smart kid, when he needs to be. His father, played by Colin Farrell, goes missing, and so he needs to team up with this guy Dom and somehow get him back from the world of fairies. Yeah, the world of Artemis Fowl supposedly dabbles with fairy magic and mystical creatures like goblins and trolls and dwarves and stuff, which normally is a thing I really love. I love that kind of mythology, dude. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, elves and fairies and goblins and magic. That's my jam right there. But this movie's version of that world puts way more technology into it than it probably should have. In this movie, the world of fairies is like they have a whole mechanized system that's like fairies meets Kingsman or something. Yeah, I'm not even lying, it's like that. But that's not even what's bad about the movie, because I can get behind a mystical world that uses technology, like Asgard or something. There are quite a few bad things in this movie, starting with the acting. The main kid who plays little Artemis Fowl, he's just not a good actor, and I'm not even blaming him, well, sometimes his acting just wasn't good and that might just be his fault. I hate saying things like that because I don't want to be mean. But the problem is his character is super smart, and normally super smart characters are really cool, like Sherlock Holmes or Tony Stark. But those characters are interesting because they have emotion, they're charismatic. They have a groove, you're like, they're kind of a dick, but yeah, they're cool, I like watching them. With this kid, he's super smart, but he's boring, he's emotionless. He's just so stoic all the time. He has like one fun scene in the entire movie. And then you have all the adult actors, which, oh man, it was almost painful to watch them in this movie. Because you could totally tell they're just phoning it in because they're like, yeah, we know this movie's not gonna do well at all. Whatever, we're here for the paycheck. Colin Farrell, you can tell he's phoning it in. Judi Dench, dude, Judi Dench. What happened? I thought you're a Dame Judi Dench. You are known for being a spectacular actress. What are you doing in movies like Cats and Artemis Fowl? Because in this movie, I feel like she was told to just do her best Admiral Akbar impression. Because she sounds like this for some reason. I'm not even exaggerating. That is how she sounds. There's a part in the movie where she arrives on the scene, the camera goes up to her, and she's like, top of the morning. At that point, I was like, oh my god. She was laughable in this movie, dude. And it just makes me sad. Because again, she's Judi Dench. Why she's in this movie, I can't tell you. Does she really need to do movies like this? I don't know. There are, however, a couple of characters that I can let slide. Like there's one character, her name is Holly. She becomes like the female lead in the film, the friend character to Artemis Fowl. And the kid who plays her, you can tell she's like, this could be my big break, so I'm gonna give it my all. And I personally didn't think she was that bad. In fact, I felt the movie might have been better if it centered more around her than Artemis Fowl, because A, I felt she was a better actress, and B, no, that's pretty much it. And Josh Gad, I felt was fine in this movie too. The voice he does in this movie, I didn't have as much of a problem with as with Judi Dench's, even though they're kind of similar. But Josh Gad's character, he kind of sounds like this throughout the entire movie. But for him, I felt it worked, you know, because he's Josh Gad. He's Olaf, so you're used to his voice being kind of squeaky and weird. He's good at doing that, what can I say? And his character was kind of fun. I don't know what was going through Josh Gad's head while he was doing this movie. Maybe it was like Miles Teller in those Divergent movies where he's like, if I'm gonna be in this really bad movie, I'm gonna have some fun with it. Plus, there's this really cool computer effect that he does where he unhinges his mouth like the other father in Coraline, just rah. Every time he did that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. The visual effects in this movie, I gotta say, were not that bad. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible. The whole fairy city place that you see in this movie, I was like, Alright, well, par for the course Disney live-action shtick. It's no Wakanda or Atlantis, but it'll do. But the real bummer about this movie is that the whole thing just feels half-assed. It feels rushed. The movie's like an hour and a half long, so right there it's gonna feel rushed. There are dialogue scenes where people are talking with each other so fast, you're like, how can they keep up in these conversations? It's like, alright, your father left you a clue. You gotta do this, this, and this. Oh, so if I have to do this, that means I gotta go get that first. Yes, that's right. And by the way, this is also really important. Oh, that, yeah, don't worry, I got it covered. You can chalk it up to the kid is just super smart, so he's gonna figure things out really quickly. But that's just another problem with the movie. When the kid is going into Sherlock mode and figuring puzzles out, you're not along for the ride with him. He's presented with a puzzle and then he just solves it just like that. Like within 2 seconds. It's not engaging at all. So if we, the audience, are not engaged, that leads us to not care about anything that's going on here. And that happens a few times in this movie where he's presented with a puzzle and then there you go, solved. Which leads the movie to be pretty boring. And like I said, the script, the lines, the dialogue, the whole top of the morning thing. There are a few lines like that throughout the movie where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe someone actually got paid to write these lines. This movie goes right up there in the Hall of Fame of really bad movie adaptations of books, next to Aragon and Percy Jackson. This movie is just as bad, if not worse, than them. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Wrinkle in Time, because Wrinkle in Time was just laughable all throughout. This movie was laughable in parts, but all the other parts were just boring. And it really showcases that in the ending. The ending of this movie was like half an hour long. This movie took way too long to wrap up. Like after the climax happens, the big thing goes down, you're like, all right, it's over. And then there's one epilogue, you're like, okay, movie's over. And then it doesn't end. You're like, oh, there's still more? And that happens 2 more times. So the movie feels like it ends 3 times. You're like, oh my god, movie, end. End so I can review you and give you the crap you deserve. The music was good. It's like the one shining light in this movie. It's Patrick Doyle. He's a really good composer. He did the music for Goblet of Fire, Brave. He's known for having that Celtic influence in his music. Since this movie takes place in Ireland, which, again, that's my jam right there. Fairies and magic and Celtic music. And the score did reflect that. At some points, it actually sounded a little like the Shire theme in Lord of the Rings. Like, as the credits were going, I was like, this sounds like the Shire theme in Lord of the Rings, which is great. I love that theme. So yeah, the music, the score was good. It doesn't save the movie at all, but it was good. So yeah, in the end, Artemis Fowl, don't watch it. I've already heard that it pissed off fans of the book. But you know me, there are movies that still do that, but I still like. This movie just fails all on its own. Really bad acting all around, except for the kid who played Holly, she was good. The terrible script, puzzles just got solved way too easily, and there were a couple of obvious exposition dumps as well. Again, the whole thing just feels half-assed. If this were a theatrical release, I would say don't go see this movie. But since it is a streaming service film, I will say don't watch this movie. Just avoid it at all costs. I feel like a hero. I watched this movie, so you don't have to, and I will never watch it again. Hopefully. So, Artemis Fowl, do not watch the movie. I'm not going to ask you if you've seen it, because that would imply that you have seen it. So, don't watch it. Have you read the books? Are they any good? Which one's your favorite? Or if you want an applicable question, what is the worst live-action Disney movie of late that you've seen? That's a good question. Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.